Hello and welcome to Cherries Red Army live on YouTube. Good to have you with us. It's another show. It's your show, The Fan Show. And we have got a fan panel and a special guest this evening from Bournemouth Echo, sports journalist. So we'll introduce him in just a bit. But it's good to have you here. Now, since our last stream, we've had a couple of games. A performance against Everton. Was it a performance? Not sure it was a performance, but it was a loss. And an improved performance against Chelsea, but no goals. So that's what we're going to focus on this evening. So rather than striking into a preview later in the show, we are going to talk about what's going on at the moment with performances, with a sliding down the table, with the lack of goals, but how can we turn it around very soon up north in Manchester? So what I really want from you guys this evening, especially live and interactive in the chat, is your support. I want the topics to come through. There's a lot of supporters here that get very involved in the interactive chat, and I know there's viewers that just like to sit back and enjoy it, but do get involved. And there is a topic you want to discuss this evening. The best thing for you to do is to put a queue, put your topic, and we may discuss it in the stream, especially with our special guest. Okay, also subscribe to Cherries Red Army. We are still growing, ever growing, so keep subscribing if you're new around here, and please do smash the like button. If you're watching this back on replay, thank you very much, really appreciate it. Enjoy the show, and of course you can get involved in the comments. So I've talked about the couple of games we've had. We've also had an FA Cup draw. It's only the third round and it doesn't look pretty already. So we'll talk about that with the fan panel as well. So say hi in the chat. Let's get straight into it. We've got an hour here and let's talk about it. We're in. We're straight in. And let's go to Aaron K. Now, the good thing, Aaron K, is I'm glad we didn't have this straight after Everton, because it might be a few different discussions and things coming out of your mouth. Now, fortunately, we've had Chelsea to relax a little bit and look back. So going to be calm tonight, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all feel a little bit better after the Chelsea game. I think Everton game was utter dross, and it was just one of those games where it just looked really, really bad. But Chelsea, yeah, we didn't score again, but we looked more like ourselves. I think there was a real, tempo to the game. We seemed to get our mojo back in that game, and it was a game that I was not particularly looking forward to, on the basis that Chelsea, although going for a slightly sticky period at the moment, have got some top class players. Cole Palmer came back for his first game in months. Typically, they got quality all over the pitch, and I think it was the first game they haven't scored in all season, or something like that. So a lot of credit for that. A lot of players missing. So yeah, I definitely came away from Chelsea. I think we deserved probably to nick it, but when that final whistle went, I was happy, because I thought, stop the rot, and it was important not to lose and get to that 20 points psychologically, which is nice. And yeah, get rid of those Everton cobwebs and ready for a busy Christmas period.
Excellent. Matt Davies, good to see you again. And I think tonight, Matt, there will be some difficult conversations about certain players. It's going to happen. We had a blistering start after Anfield and we were flying high in the table. We have slid a little bit. It's not been great. I think it's 1 point from 15, a potential 15. So there's going to be some potential difficult discussions. But I always think, Matt, there's always a positive performance around the corner, and very soon we will be driving back up the table. And that's how I think this stream's going to go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the great start that we had, as we've said on this channel, papered over some cracks. I think, really, not just from a defensive viewpoint, but overall. I mean, scoring goals has become an issue, so it did paper over the cracks a little bit early season. They're starting to show now, with injuries and suspensions taking its toll as the season progresses. We had a couple of tricky away games, which we come out the wrong side of. One not so bad performance at Man City, but one not very good performance at all against Aston Villa. And there's certain factors at play, isn't there? Things that are going on off the pitch with certain players. I think we all know about that. Situations and issues that Andoni's got to manage, which have been quite challenging. So there's lots of factors to look at, but I think overall, we're probably about where we deserve to be at this stage in the season, I would say. I think that's pretty fair. Is there more to come from us? Yeah, I think a lot hinges on the January window. I think a lot hinges on what happens in January with both outgoings and incomings. as to what our season will look like come the middle or the end of May. It's still early days, isn't it? We're still only in sort of early to mid-December, so there's a lot of football to be played, and a lot of people can overreact. We've seen that from our own fan base. I think we see it from every single fan base. And as Andoni rightly said, I've heard him in interviews recently, you can never get too high when you're up the top end of the table and get too carried away, and you can never get too low when things don't go your way. The harsh, the reality is it's probably always somewhere in between, really, particularly for a club like ourselves. So I think there needs to be a bit of a reality check. We need to temper things a little bit, and we need to go again. And I'm sure I've got every confidence we will. I still think we can have a good season. I still feel that we can finish inside that top 10. That's what I predicted at the start of the season. I went on various platforms, fan channels to say that. I've got every faith in the board, the ownership, the direction they're taking us in. So it's onwards and upwards, boys, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you're already starting in the chat. So good stuff here. I can actually star some of the comments in the chat now on StreamYard. So if you've got a question and a topic you potentially want discussed, do put a Q before that comment and I will pick it up. And there's already a couple going in there, so we will pick some of them up in a moment. Right, we've had a lot of special guests here on Cherries Red Army and journalists, and our next one, it is a debut for Alex Smith, Bournemouth Echo sports journalist. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Frank. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. Do you want to do a little bit of an introduction and maybe tell the guests where they can find you for covering the Cherries this season?
Yeah, I'm obviously I'm senior sports reporter at the Echo. Cover Cherries home and away. I'm on X, Twitter, at Alex Smith Echo. I am, and yeah, just sort of anything and everything on the website really, and in the paper. So, it's all sort of there, and I've been covering the club for a season and a half now, or coming up to a season and a half. Full season and a half, and yeah, it's been a roller coaster, been up and down. That's
the life of a Bournemouth fan, I always think.
Well, quite, yeah. I think probably it's the life of most football fans, unless you support Man City in recent years or something like that. But I think it's great. I love it. It's one of the best jobs you can have, in my opinion. I'm sure lots of people would love to get paid to go and watch football and write about it. I'm certainly very lucky to do so. Things. I mean, obviously the last 6 games haven't been great, but it's been I think if you looked at, if you look at the summer's turnover and sort of the rebuild, and which Andoni has been quite public in saying it was definitely a rebuild. So it's been a summer of change. I think some of the results so far this season have been excellent, and we need to hopefully move on from the Everton result, because, as you say, that was not a good performance.
It wasn't at all. I tell you what, I'd like to be paid to watch football, because nowadays it's getting rather expensive to just follow football in general. I've seen the England World Cup tickets, and they look scarily high as a price for a ticket. So the beautiful game has lost itself. I mean, it lost itself in parts many years ago, but it's all part and parcel. Again, we can talk about our ownership in regards to American ownership, but actually they've delivered as well. And that's what I think you've got to weigh up. There's parts they're not going to get it right all the time. And I'm not going to go down this sort of hole tonight, but you can have certain groans, but they built the training ground, the stadium's coming. And I'll tell you what, is those the 2 things we've asked for a long time, guys, and we can't argue against those things. Great. So look, going to have lots of topics in there, and you've got Alex Smith with us this evening, so we'll get some good discussions going. First thing I want to do, though, guys, is reflect on Monday night very, very quickly, and that is the FA Cup draw for the 3rd round. Cherries draw Eddie Howe's Newcastle United. If that wasn't bad enough, it's up north as well, Aaron. It's going to be an interesting tie. Now, before you completely put your hands or your head in your hands, we could quite easily go into the record of Eddie Howe in the 3rd round as manager for Bournemouth, and we lost a lot of games in the 3rd round. There's always a chance.
Yeah, I spent the first 35 years of my life begging to get a big team in the FA Cup, and we never did. And now I spent the last 10 years of my life hoping we get like a nice League One team and relive some of those days, and we never do. So that's sod's law for you. We obviously watching the draw with my boys, and every name that came out, Western Supermare, Cheltenham, we'll take them. Boreham Wood, obviously my local team came out, we'll take them. And then Newcastle came, and I was like, no, please, and out we came. So my first thought was that's probably one of the worst draws we could possibly get, and it probably is. But as you say, number one, Eddie obviously hasn't got a great record against us. He obviously doesn't want to beat us, which is fair enough. Although they did beat us in one cup game a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And the only other positive I can spin it is that they have got other priorities. And I think I said this to you, Kirk, offline, that we got to pray that next week they beat Fulham in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. Because if Newcastle do win that game next week, the semi-final first leg is 3 days after our cup match. And I'd like to think that he'd prioritise a cup semi-final. If they lose to Fulham, then probably not. So we're massive Newcastle fans this week. And yeah, look, they got Europe. They're obviously, their priority is obviously more than us. The pressure on them to get top 4, 5, 6, whatever it is obviously a big thing for them. And as I said, hopefully they'll still have a Carabao Cup semi-final. So that's one crumb of comfort that they might want to rest players, but it's still going to be very, very tricky. Having said that, we want to win the cup, which I think we're all desperate to do. And I've said to you time and time again, having watched us for years, this season I would take 17th and win the FA Cup because I just want to win a major trophy. Then we've got to beat the best at some stage. So, yeah.
Someone that is happy, where is he? He's in there somewhere.
Dyer.
Stephen Dyer is very happy. And I know why he's happy about the draw, because I think I'm sure he lives in Newcastle.
He does.
So, he's quite happy. There he is. He's quite happy about it. Of course he is. Moss 1040 Matt says Newcastle fans aren't happy about the draw. It's because their record against us, but they have had one win in the cup. It might have been the EFL Cup. But have they got bigger fish to fry? Although the FA Cup is the biggest cup still in this country.
Yeah, I mean, they have. I mean, Aaron's already highlighted it there. They have got bigger fish to fry, you would say, at the moment. I totally agree with that. I think that Fulham game is huge in terms of the dynamic of our fixture against them in the FA Cup. If they win that one, you'd like to think their focus will be on the semi-final. If not, then they'll go all in on the FA Cup. Don't forget they're still in the Champions League, and there's all to play for in that. Stephen Dyer was one of the first. So I was driving at the time. I was driving home from work, bit of a late one, and I'd forgotten about the draw. All of a sudden, I had 3 or 4. You can't look at your phone while you're driving, but 3 or 4 texts come flooding through. I thought, blimey, who's this? And I thought, first one was Stephen Dyer, and I just saw it said Newcastle away. Yes, and my first reaction was disgusting. That is a horrific draw. Horrific draw for us, but
he might need to clone a few more Stephen Dyers for that game.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Yeah, having just been to Sunderland myself, I've got no plans to do that trip whatsoever in an FA Cup in dreary January. No, it's not a great draw. However, it could be a good game, couldn't it? It has all the ingredients to be a decent game. Obviously, the Eddie Howe factor, all the other links between the two clubs, the fact that on the pitch we're probably not miles apart. It should be competitive, whatever happens. So that's probably the positives I can take from it. And it gives us a sniff of a chance, doesn't it? It gives us a sniff of a chance. But it's not on your first reaction was, that's a terrible draw. And going back to what Aaron was saying there, I've also been a fan for 40 years and spent my whole life praying for a Man United and Liverpool. And I think we got on once or twice, Man United, in the 80s, which I can obviously, I've got vivid memories of even as a youngster. Apart from that, we never used to, we were supposed to have Liverpool one year. All they had to do was beat Burnley, and Burnley beat them. And we ended up with Burnley away. That's how bad it was. Now I want to go to Swindon Town, Bristol Rovers, Exeter City away. And we they never come out. It's always a Premier League team, and that which we don't really want. But let's see what we can do. Should be a good game anyway.
So your reaction to that draw, Alex, and I'm sure you might be going to that. So fair play if you are.
I'll be there.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. What I was going to say was, I think Andoni Iraola's got a few objectives in his coming to Bournemouth, sustaining a period of time with Bournemouth. That's obviously to promote himself long term. I think it's to do well for the club and see if he can take us as high as he can take us under this ownership. And I was convinced last season that one of the big objectives inside the club, because we won't know, would have been on the board to get to a Wembley run out, ideally the FA Cup, because that's something this club hasn't done. The furthest it's ever gone is the quarterfinals, and we got so close last season. We were up at half time against Manchester City in the quarterfinal. That changed by Guardiola. We didn't react to it. And I'm convinced, and I just feel like this is potentially put a dagger in there, because I am so convinced Andoni wants to lead this side out to Wembley in the semi-final, whether you agree whether Wembley should be in the semi-final or the final.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's got form for it when he was in Spain as a manager with Mirandes and Rayo Vallecano. Obviously, they got to the semi-finals with both. Obviously, they don't hold them at the National Stadium, the semi-finals, but he's certainly got form of getting clubs to semi-finals in cups, and certainly every time he speaks about cups, he genuinely loves the cups, the national cups that you have in Spain or in the UK. So I think he values them very highly. I think maybe the Carabao Cup less so, but the FA Cup certainly. I think he is a bit of a target for him. So I think he'd love to go deep in the competition, but I mean, I guess the people might say, well, you've got to beat the best teams to win the cup. So whether you get them in the third round or the semi-final, it doesn't. You still have to beat them, but you'd rather get them in the semi-final because then that means that you've got to the semi-final. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be an interesting game. I have to say, my first reaction was that's going to be an awful long drive, and I can just see them deciding that it'll be a great one for TV, and then deciding to put it on the Friday night or something ridiculous. And if
we wouldn't be shocked, would we?
No, and I mean, if Newcastle are in the League Cup semi-final the following week, they might go, "Oh, we're going to give Newcastle a nice big rest for their semi-final and put it on a Friday night," which would be wonderful. But yeah, I think Andoni always, certainly last season, he saw it as a really big opportunity missed. I think that City quarter-final.
Sorry, Alex, I don't think it can be on the Friday night because we play Spurs on the Wednesday night, the 7th at home.
Oh, you might be right. Yeah, I think you're right. It'll be.
I think in Alex's mind is he just wouldn't be surprised if
they won't let us do that because they've already moved that Spurs.
The organisation that runs the game doesn't care if fans have got to travel a ridiculous distance at a stupid time kickoff. That's probably
if they could, they would have put a Monday night game, then the Wednesday night midweek, and then the Friday night in the cup. Yeah. To get us all on TV.
But they could move it to like a Sunday, but then again, like you say, if it's got an EFL Cup potential coming round, then maybe not. But I see you thinking, because we're never shocked when these games like Manchester United on a Monday night happens, for example.
No, well, that's another long drive, but that's okay. It's not quite as long as Newcastle. We don't mind that.
It isn't.
I think it'll be a good game. I mean, if we can repeat the 4-1 at Newcastle last season, that will go down very nicely. That was probably the best performance of last season, I think. So if we can have another repeat of that, that'd be lovely.
Am I right in thinking there's no replays in the third round anymore?
No.
Right?
No.
So no replays at all. So it'll be
done on the day. Yeah.
Penalties if it goes that far.
Yeah, and we did do very well up there last season with a bare 11, if I can remember. Not much of a bench. So
yeah, I think I remember doing some quick maths in the press box there. I think there were 33 Premier League appearances on the Cherries bench, and I think 24 of them came from Mark Travers at the time. And I think there was 8 from Daniel Jefferson and 1 from, I think, Zane Silcock Dewberry, who'd come off the bench the week before, and that was the extent of the experience on the bench.
It was interesting.
It was a ridiculous performance.
Don't, because you'll get Aaron started on Dangu Utara. So we'll stop.
Also, just a quick point, boys. Aaron will remember this. We have actually beaten Newcastle in the FA Cup on penalties at St James's Park before, 1992.
Is that the one? That was the rearranged fog game, wasn't it?
That's the rearranged fog, yeah. Same again, boys.
Oh,
your memories are ridiculous.
I just remember Paul Wood through the mist.
Paul Wood and Kevin Bond got the goals.
Let's move on to other topics then very, very soon. But that draw for the FA Cup, I think those fixtures are being played around the weekend of the 10th of January. So I'm sure we might touch on that again nearer to that fixture or post whatever that result is. Let's turn our attentions then to our current form of late, and we are looking at the Premier League table. Now, a few weeks ago, we were flying high. I'm going to have to scroll down now because we're not at the moment. We are currently 13th. And as I said, it's something like 1 point from a possible 15 in our form. No wins across the board there, losses and draws. Alex, let's just quickly get, before we dive into chat and get some of those topics, let's get just another overview from you around where we are, because we were flying high and I had a lot of concerns when we let pretty much our whole defence and we had no goalkeeper as well because Kepa went to Arsenal, but we didn't have a choice on Howson. We allowed Sabani to go. We allowed Kirkes to go. So I was really worried that we had gone one step forwards with our finish last season to 2 steps back. But then we had a blistering start after Anfield. But now, as Aaron said earlier, I think we are about right, considering we've had a bit of disruption.
Yeah, I think, you look at the league table and it's so congested. I think, we're 5 points behind 4th or 5th, I think. So it's so close. And it does seem like it's one of those seasons where you win a couple of games and suddenly you're in the conversation for Europe, and you lose a couple and you're back down to mid-table. But I think the 8-game run was brilliant, and I think there were good performances pretty much throughout that, and they were doing well, and I think the new signings hit the ground running really, really nicely. I think, as we said, I think the City game was a decent performance. Villa game was not. But then again, Villa, if Antoine scores the penalty, I can see getting a point at least. West Ham was, Andoni said that he feels that the second half against West Ham was the best half of football that we played since he's been here. So it was a pretty, they weren't bad in the first half. It was just West Ham took the 2 chances they got. Callum Wilson's a good finisher, and he sort of made the difference in that first half, and then Areola was brilliant in goal for West Ham. So on another day, that's 3 easy points, but it wasn't. And then Sunderland was frustrating because it was a good start, and then to throw away a 2-goal lead like that with sort of ill discipline was just disappointing. And I think it felt like they just lost control a bit, and Andoni was sort of saying about the ref as well, and you sort of have to play the ref how the ref is reffing the game. And I think there were a couple of senior figures who possibly should have sort of calmed the team down and got them a bit more control in that game, and they just let the game go away from them. The Everton game was awful, just a bad performance, and you sort of have to accept that's probably going to happen in a season at some point. You're not going to play 38 games brilliantly, but it was disappointing. And then, yes, Chelsea was back to being better. I think it's been another thing that in my 2 seasons covering the club, there've been a couple of times where there's been a really good run, and then it's been followed by quite a barren spell. So after the 11-game run last year, I think lost to Liverpool, then beat Southampton, and that was in February, and then I think didn't win again until April. So it's sort of, I guess that's sort of been a bit of a feature of the last 2 seasons, is they go on a brilliant run and then they can't quite back it up with sort of a solid run, I guess. So I guess that might be a concern, but I think once they get back to winning ways, it'll be all good. A lot of tough games coming up, and they've got to make the most of the games that are easier, in inverted commas, to sort of and punish the teams that they should be punishing, really. and hope for sort of the result against a big team, which has come in the past couple of seasons. And I always feel optimistic going into get these games that Andoni will be able to get something out of it, and there'll be a point or three from somewhere where you might not expect it.
Yeah, because I do feel, Matt, that we are a side that hasn't broken into Europe yet. So we're a side that's looking to probably finish between, I mean, I was hoping between 8th and 11th. Now it might be 9th to 13th or 14th. So I suppose what Alex is saying there, you are going to peak and trough as a club, because if you're not peak and troughing, you are going to finish high because you're going to win more games than you don't win, of course. My only concern the last few games, Matt, and put your finger on it if you can, because I can't really put my finger on it, is we did look more like an Andoni Iraola side against Chelsea. I didn't recognise the Everton performance at all. I couldn't even put 1% recognise anything on that. It was really shocking. And the thing that frustrated me about that one was Andoni came out against West Ham and said, too slow, not good enough, no penetration, didn't do enough to hurt West Ham. Then we battled hard. Everton was worse in the first half. So I'm like, why are we making the same mistake again? But it was good to see that we had ironed that out, and we did have a go at Chelsea with low numbers, no Tyler Adams and some big players missing. But I look at an Iraola side that used to have 15, 16 shots at goal last season on average, and we're down having 11, 12 if we're lucky. What is the problem?
The problem for me probably started, I want to say at Sunderland. I think the ill discipline started. So I've not seen an Andoni Iraola team and bench, and I include the manager in that, lose their heads like we did at Sunderland. Being 2-0 up was really disappointing. I don't want to call it a capitulation, but the penalty was obviously the turning point. Alex Scott, silly chat, I don't know what he's doing. It's very soft, but it gets given and they score it. From then, 2-1, Crowder up. I thought we're in trouble here. And we just seemed to lose our heads in the second half mentally, as well as physically. We were outdone physically, but mentally. And I've not seen that from an Andoni Iraola team or the bench before, including himself. So I think it started there. And I think there was repercussions from that, really. That then filtered into the Everton game, where Marcus Tavernier is obviously seen to be, telling the North Stand to F off or whatever he said, or whatever happened there. Ill discipline again. You can't have that. No matter, as much as I sympathise with Marcus and fans getting on his back, whether they were or not, or whether they were just trying to encourage support for him, whatever happened, you can't really excuse that. So we've not seen that before, and I think that's a factor. The other factor for me, Kirk, is that he's not picking a settled team, is he? Week on week, every game we're seeing changes. We're seeing he doesn't know his best team, and I know his hands are tied at times with injury, suspensions. So there's a few factors at play there, but he's not able to find any cohesion in his starting 11. There's no consistency. And I don't think that's helping us at all. I don't think it's helping us defensively, and it's certainly not helping us offensively now, because he keeps swapping and changing. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to bed in players that he's bought from Europe or wherever they've come from that are trying to adjust to the ferocity and the tempo and everything else that goes on in the Premier League. Namely, Amin Adli. These are young lads still that are trying to get to grips with it, and it hasn't paid dividends for him so far. So that lack of cohesion, the lack of consistency around the starting 11 is a factor for me. Obviously, the other factor is the Anton Semenyo situation. Visibly, you can see on the pitch, so goodness knows what it's like off the pitch, that has unsettled things. It's unsettled the player because he's not at the level that he was early season. It's no coincidence that since that news broke, whether it was meant to be broken or not, it broke to the public, it broke to everybody. There's been a change in the individual, which obviously then, being as he's probably our talisman, our key player out of everyone, that has a ripple effect, and that filters down throughout the team. So for me, Kirk, I know you say you can't put your finger on it. That's me putting my finger on it. They're the factors I think that are determining us not being the force that we were early season. So over to the manager. That's what he's getting paid for. He's a class act. He's a quality manager. No doubt he's going to manage at a big club at the very top level one day. So he's now got a job on his hands because he's got these issues that I've just highlighted there to address. with the January window looming. So pivotal time for us at the moment. And I'm sure, as I said earlier, I'll repeat it again, we can get back on track. I've got every confidence he will get us back on track. The board will help in that regard, and we'll be stronger for it come January, February time, and we can still have a great season. But for me, that's what's going on at the moment.
So, Aaron, if we're going to get back to winning ways, like we need to, like Alex has mentioned, and Matt sees us turning a corner, we know we're leaking goals, and I'm hoping that stops very soon. We're going to need to score goals, and we haven't scored in the last two. Cliver, 1 goal all season. Was he our top goal scorer last season? I think he was, potentially. 1 goal this season. Even Nilsson, 1 goal this season. Semenyo, blistering start. What's that? No goals in 6. Who can step up, drive us on in a few days' time, and get us back to winning ways?
Well, yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, I think a part of what it is, and Matt, I agree with everything Matt said before, but something which wasn't mentioned, I think you look back at last season, and a lot of the joy we had last season, our best spells came when we had 2 very pivotal players. I'm not going to dwell on Dango's goals, pace, power, and everything, but taking him out of the equation, 2 players who were critical were Ryan Christie and Justin Kluivert. Okay, they were critical to the press, critical to the way we played, critical to the tempo, and as you say, one of them got a shed load of goals. The issue we've had this season is that both of them didn't have a pre-season. One of them can't seem to get fit. Get injured playing for his country, and hopefully be back very soon. Probably not Monday, but if not the Christmas period. And the other one, I think we're trying to play him into some sort of form, because if you Justin Kluivert, as you said, is not the player he was last season, and I think Andoni obviously likes the player, sees what he can do, and at the moment is trying to play him. The best way to try and get him to form is try and play him into form, which can go but one of 2 ways. So I think that is critical to the success we had last season, and blinding the obvious why we're not having that same success this season, because neither of those players have really played at all this season or done anything. So that's a huge loss. We've signed a goal scorer in Krupi, who for me has probably surpassed expectations so far. Didn't come off the bench on Saturday when we're looking for a goal, and I can understand why, because it was a sort of game that might have suited him a bit more.
Because he lent on Soler, that's why.
Right, yeah. So at the moment, and I've heard a few people say this, we've got 3 different types of strikers. We've got a striker who absolutely works his nuts off for the team in Evan Nilsson, whose links play, little flicks, and as I said, linking and seeing chances is absolutely brilliant. And he puts in an absolute shift for the team, but he can't buy himself a goal at the moment. His confidence is absolutely shot in front of goal. He's finding himself offside. He's finding himself taking an extra touch. He's finding himself taking an extra couple of seconds. And the 1 goal he scored this season was a deflected goal at Tottenham. You got another striker who's just come back from injury in Unal, who is probably the one player who, if we get the ball in the box, can actually head the ball into the net.
Natural finisher.
I think so. He showed that against West Ham, wasn't it? Yeah.
West Ham.
The way he played that. We've seen enough of him to know he's not the answer, but at the same time, he's a different type of striker. And we got a player in Krupi who literally doesn't do much during the game at all, but is a natural goal scorer and can score you goals, as he showed against Crystal Palace, as he showed against Nottingham Forest, he showed against Leeds. So they're all different to each other, and it's difficult to know. I mean, I'm wondering if you can get Krupi in the team as well as Evan Nilsson, maybe. That might be an answer when Semenyo's gone, or if Kluivert doesn't hit any sort of form. But it is a problem when your number 9 doesn't score goals. And I know Andoni says he doesn't look at goals, he looks at what he does for the team, but that you need other players to score around you. And I think that, as Matt touched upon, Antoine Semenyo's form has nosedived. I thought it actually was a lot brighter against Chelsea, Big Six club and all that. But it's definitely affected by the transfer talk, but it's something we've seen before. He started last season like a house on fire, and then completely went off the boil, to the extent that I actually was thinking that's why the top clubs won't go for him, because he's so inconsistent and he can blow hot and cold, and he's proved that again this season. So I think it's a bit of everything. And then, again, throw into the mix, you've lost, whether you like it or not, you've lost a winger forward last season who scored a load of goals.
I know.
So Dango went.
Is there going to be a stream you don't bring up Dango Utara?
Well, no, because as I said to you before, at the time, it was brilliant money for him. Bite your hand off for it, but we're going to have to spend that to replace Semenyo in the January transfer window. And if you could buy a striker who's tall, who's strong, quick, physical, good in the air, and scores goals, you'd take him now. But anyway, it's a different issue. So you've replaced him with Adley. Obviously, Doak's injured, which is a real blow, and I think that's a real shame because I think he was looking promising. Adley hasn't hit the ground running yet. I've still got hopes for him. I still think he'll grow into the role and he'll be great. And he's not going to AFCON, which is actually good news for us. He wasn't chosen for Morocco tonight. Brooks, who started the season brilliantly, but we know what he's about. He's not got the blistering pace and power. He's a very clever player who can see a pass. So suddenly we're lacking in the wing positions all of a sudden as well. And if Semenyo goes in January, or when Semenyo goes in January, that's my worry, that as good as he has, as bad as he has been, not bad, but as disappointing as he's been in the last few games, I really worry for it. Anything good is still coming through him. Against Chelsea, he was having shots and taking players on. When he's gone, I do worry for us in that department. I'm sure we will replace him. Clearly, Foley's not stupid, and I'm sure that's going to come. But yeah, look, as I said, as I think Matt said, and a lot of people have said, we weren't as good as we thought we were earlier in the season. We're certainly not as bad as we think we are now. We're somewhere in the middle, and I do trust that the owners to replace it and to get it, and certainly the manager to get it right.
Yeah. So a lot to take from that, Alex. Now let's dive into the chat, because I did promise to pull out some topics, and Aaron and Matt have covered a lot there, and we're probably going to come into chunks of what they've said. The first one I want to dive into is Nick Osborne says, we are not getting behind teams, missing Kirke's overlaps. Now, interestingly, against Chelsea, we did have wingers on the bench coming back from suspension that Iraola could have played, but he ended up going with Jimenez and Smith, which I thought was a really interesting call. It's almost a double fullback down there. But it was rolling back the years, Alex, for Smith, because he was overlapping. We haven't seen that for a long time. And because he knew if he overlapped, Jimenez could drop in, maybe. But we did have overlaps going down that right-hand side. And I think we get a lot from Truffert. We just need to get the balance right, helping Truffert. But we get a lot going down that side. Your thoughts on that? Because I thought it did work, and I like Jimenez. But then you are benching natural wingers.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting decision. I mean, we were trying to work out who was playing where in the press room beforehand. Whether, because obviously with Adams out, it was who's going to play in midfield. Would Tav drop a bit deeper? And I sort of thought, well, maybe. And I think there's a warm up drill that the centre backs do beforehand, where one of the coaches bounces the ball to them, and they do practice headers next to each other. And Adam Smith was doing that, and next to Diakite. And I was sort of thinking, is he going to play Adam Smith at centre back and play Senesi in midfield? As it was, Jimenez was on the right wing, and actually I was really impressed with him. He's been a good acquisition. I know it's on loan with an option, I think, to buy. So I think they'd be silly not to. From what I've seen, I think they'd be silly not to trigger that option. I was impressed with him at right wing. He offered some good stuff going forwards, and obviously I think he
does that cause a bit of disruption in the dressing room though, when you've got Brooksy in a new form of his life? And when we talk about what's happening here, is there talk of Andoni Iraola's contract? Do the players know where they stand? You've got these little things going on. They're losing their head at Sunderland. Now you're playing a right back at right wing. What does that do to Brooksy? All these things are going on, and is this playing a part in where we are right now?
I mean, I did wonder. I did also think maybe one of the Chelsea journalists, I think, said it. Maybe he picked Jimenez to play a right wing to maybe go up against Cucurella, and play a right winger with that sort of defensive role as well in mind, because of the Chelsea left and sort of what they were doing there. But yeah, I did think it was an interesting call with all the wingers on the bench that he had available. To not play any of them was interesting. I sort of think Brooksy will come back into the side for Monday. I'd be surprised if Jimenez played at right wing again on Monday. We'll see. But I think that'll be an interesting dynamic to watch. It's whether you sort of look at it and go, they're in a bad run of form. So Andoni's looking to make changes to try and bring them out of form. And obviously Brooksy Brooksy got the booking, which got him suspended, and that all sort of kicked off a bit at Sunderland. And he was one of a number of players who lost their heads, who perhaps should have known better. But I think it'll be an interesting dynamic. And sort of, I was just thinking during the Evan Nilsson chat as well. I really rate Evan Nilsson. I love Evan Nilsson, but his goal scoring is obviously a problem. I do also think that is potentially tied to the Kluivert form, because I think that partnership worked really well between Kluivert in the 10 and Evan Nilsson in the 9 last season, and their combination worked really well. And whether he sort of struggled with, I don't know, with Tav in the 10 or sort of the different players who've played in that role, sort of in behind him. I don't know whether that's got something to do with Evan Nilsson not quite hitting his straps yet this season. I hope he comes good, because, like I say, I think he's brilliant.
Me too.
And as you sort of said, the role he plays in sort of the flicks and the link up play is brilliant, and his role in the press as well is vital to how Cherries play.
And I think he's a likable character as well.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, he always gives 110% and is always busting a gut from striker in the press to try and hound keepers and centre backs, and we did see that when he came off the bench a little bit against Everton, and then in the Chelsea game. So
I just want to see one of these 6-yard chances go in. That's all I want to see. He misses so much in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, I mean the penalty, because there was obviously the penalty that he won.
Yeah,
that he was on the 6-yard. Sort of, that was one that was, you sort of think, well, maybe he could have shot slightly earlier. And there's been a couple where he's taken a poor touch, and you think if he takes a better touch and it's a touch and a shot, and it should be meat and drink for some strikers. But
yeah, and I think when you're in this form, it's even more highlighted when you're getting offside, really, with like nothing in it. We can talk about offside in a different stream, because again, I think we've lost our way there in football. But again, you know, it's offside. But again, he's reacting rather than anticipating, trying to stay on side. But he's an attacker, so he's always going to lean towards a goal. Defender's going to lean away from goal. You're getting all these things, but when he's not in form, who's offside? Evan Nilsson.
Alex, I was going to say, do you think there's a reason why Krupi had like a run of four goals in the two or three games or something, and then just has been a bit part player? Didn't even come off the bench against Chelsea. Didn't really play much against Everton and or West Ham. Came off the bench and didn't really feature away at Sunderland much either.
I think it's part of the reason is because of the sort of the all-round package and what Evan Nilsson does bring to the team and the way they play and the press in particular, and also that Krupi's 19 and in his first season in the Premier League, having come from Ligue 2, which is not even the top league in France. So it's sort of the levels are very different, and there is something to be said, sort of easing them in. And yes, he scored brilliant. I mean, he was brilliant at that. Forest goal was unbelievable and showed what he's about. So
I just think you can't buy a natural striker. And I think back to our best period last season. This is awful. I love Evan Nilsson as a player. Our best period last season was when Evan Nilsson was injured, and when Evan Nilsson was injured against Palace again, and Krupi comes in and scores a couple of goals. Didn't start, started against Forest, scored a goal, and there's a bit of a pattern there. And it's just, I'm wondering if Andoni obviously must see something.
Yeah, I think Andoni. I think clearly Andoni really rates Evan Nilsson, and there's been nothing to suggest when I've asked him about Evan Nilsson. I think I asked him last week about sort of his confidence and whether he felt confident and whether they were doing anything to work on that sort of side of things. And again, he sort of his standard answer and saying, look, I know he hasn't been scoring goals, but he doesn't feel any less confident. And we sort of instill in confidence his importance in the team. I guess against Chelsea, he brought on Unal, I think, as the striker really he took off the bench. Yeah, it was quite a late change, and I guess he sort of felt that Evan Nilsson was doing enough up to that point to justify keeping him on, and yeah, it was an interesting one. I think I do think if Cliver gets some form back, then playing him and Evan Nilsson together could have a genuine impact on Evan Nilsson as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do think I do expect both of them to start on Monday. Or I sort of predict both of them to start on Monday. And it's just I do feel it's one of those where if Evan Nilsson gets a goal or 2 goals in 3 games or something like that, and then suddenly it will get a bit more confident and that will sort of all come back and he could get to 10 to 15 goals or something in the season. But it's a problem at the moment, and I know Andoni sort of says I don't look at it, but at some point you've got to look at it, because you can't have your striker if we get to 19 games halfway through the season, if he's played all but 1 game and he's only scored once, you sort of have to look at it and go, well, what are you sort of doing with a striker that's only scored once in half a season? So it's a dilemma, and sort of as Matt said, I think Andoni this is what he's paid for, and this is what he's got to figure out. So, and I have full faith in him to do that. So, let's hope Evan Nilsson hat-trick, 3 Cliver assists on Monday night, and we'll be saying about how brilliant a striker Evan Nilsson is, and he's won a penalty for pinching the ball off the keeper like he did on about 5 occasions last season.
Hang on. If I'm doing my calculations right, is that 3-0 at Old Trafford? Maybe.
In December.
In December. Matt, let's stay on this. There's a couple of questions that came up in the chat relating to strikers and goals, and that's the topic of this stream actually here. So Sean originally said, Creepy and you now together deserve a chance, then Ever as impact sub for now. And Rob has said, do we play Creepy in the number 10 role, preserve or with Ever? I think he's saying Old Trafford is a big pitch and think Ever will come good. Jimenez to stay out on the wing. So okay, look, we're not doing a Man United preview, but how can we get goals back in the team?
Well, they're all feasible options, aren't they? And ultimately we've got to find a way, or we haven't, and Donny has. And he's obviously trying, because he's mixing things up that much. He's tinkering about with the starting 11 that much, particularly now in offensive areas. To really, I think, to try and get Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson is his our number 9, and we want him to work. We want him to score goals. We want him to function. We want him to be an integral part of this football team. So he's trying to find a way to get him going. Let's be honest, that's what he's trying to do, to get us goals. And it's been challenging. So he'll continue. I think he's got to continue to do that. But once he's done that, at some point he's got to settle, and he's got to let that bed in, because, as I said earlier on, you need cohesion in forward areas. You need understanding. You know, the movement off the ball, the interlinking. There needs to be a firm, sort of almost telepathic understanding between those players. And when you're changing it up so often, that's very difficult to create and difficult to achieve. So sooner rather than later, from my point of view, I love Evan Nilsson. I think we had a similar situation, didn't we, with a certain Dominic Solanke when he was here, where for a long time he frustrated us massively. We couldn't get him in the game. He wasn't scoring goals. We could see the effort that he was putting in, and he was over trying. It was obviously affecting his confidence. And I know, Alex, you've said that you've asked Andoni on a number of occasions, is it affecting Ever's confidence? And he's saying, no, he's still confident. He's a human being at the end of the day. It's bound to affect his confidence, the fact that he's not scoring goals. He's come in for big money. He's earning big money. He's under pressure in this football team and in the Premier League with a spotlight on him to get goals and to perform. He's not doing that. It's bound to affect him mentally.
I did ask. Sorry, I was going to say I did ask last week about whether he thought about playing, sort of going with like a 4-4-2 almost, and playing 2 or I did ask. I didn't say 4-4-2 specifically, but asked whether he thought about starting with Creepy in the 10 and Evan Nilsson for sort of a longer period. And actually, he did sort of say, well, we can there is the option to play a 4-4-2. So clearly he's thought about potentially playing either Krupi next to Evanilson or Unal next to Evanilson once he's back to sort of match fitness.
Did Krupi play 10 against West Ham in the first half?
Yes, I think.
I can't remember.
Was he floating around?
No,
a
he
bit?
started because I think Evanilson came off the bench. Or which game was that? That was Everton. Sorry,
Everton. Yeah,
I'm sure Krupi was playing in the
came off the bench
in the Kluivert role. I'm sure Krupi was moving about in the Kluivert role.
Yeah, I think he sort of played a bit because I think I don't know if Kluivert played as well. I think he sort of dovetailed a bit between the 10 and on the wing because he's played on the wing. I think coming into that game, he played on the wing twice for France under 21s.
Yes,
and scored from there. So I think there was a bit of switching around, but certainly I think Andoni has clearly thought about potentially playing a 4-4-2 and having two strikers sort of dovetailing off each other, and whether that might work best with Unal being one of them to be the different physical presence. But I don't think Unal's probably back to being able to start yet. But what
this goes back to, Matt, before you speak, Matt, what comes back to you, Matt, which is earlier in the stream, is this isn't a Bournemouth 14-15 side that you could pick the 11 every single week.
Yeah, exactly that. This is what I'm saying, and it needs to be a bit more like that. We just need to settle, and I'm sure we will. Look, he got criticised for sticking his foot out and putting the ball in the net at Sunderland because he's so desperate for a goal. You know, the fact he's offside, he just wants the goal, and it's visibly showing. I'm sure we'll get it right. There's many permutations, and it's we're not paid to make those decisions. I'm sure eventually it will come good. It did with Solanke, didn't it? And when it came good, it was phenomenal. It was amazing.
Take him back.
100%. And look what he gave us, Aaron. Look when it did come good. So we have got to persevere. We've got to be a little bit patient. And sometimes I think as fans, we've got a bit of a responsibility. I was at the Everton game, at the Chelsea game. Come on, boy. The atmosphere at times at the Vitality is terrible. It is dreadful. Yeah. We've got 11,000 fans. You'd expect it to be an absolute cauldron in there of 11,000 passionate fans, genuine Bournemouth fans that care about the club, the team, and give their all and get behind the team. It doesn't happen. We're so dopey and lackadaisical. We sit in the stands and we're almost expectant of a performance. You need to get behind these players. Use Sunderland as an example.
I thought we were better the other day, though, Matt. I thought we were better the other day against Chelsea.
We were better the other day, but it needs to be a lot better.
I know I get it, but I've been critical of Dean Court in regards to I think we've been very predictable with our songs. We used to have a lot of singing songs. We used to have a lot of singing songs that were individual to players. Now we just say the surname. We have lost our way in the stands as much as we've lost our way at times.
If you want an example,
the other day was better. The other day was better.
But if you want an example of how you need to be as a fan base, go to the Stadium of Light. They're 2-0 down at home to us in 50 minutes. And I know this is not a working class city. We haven't got that passionate fan base. Let's be honest. Everybody's got another club that they support, or a lot of them have. When you're talking about Bournemouth fans, especially these days, they're all Man United fans 15 years ago, whatever. But we really need to address that because it doesn't help the team. It doesn't help the players. And that's where we're going to end up losing players and manager because we're not passionate enough. We're not fervent enough.
But I do think some fans realised that on Saturday against Chelsea because I did see an uplift. It was a 0-0 game. There was no goals, and it was better. And I think the fans inside Dean Court realised we need to do more as well. It still may mean that we don't win because ultimately it does come down to the players, but we have not been good enough. We got a 17k stadium coming plus some. It's very, very soon, hopefully, and we have got to make that biggest stand. Has got to be something serious, and I think we can start talking with your Brightons, etc. And that this is coming down the road in streams as well. But we've talked about this enough, and in regards to the stadium, and I agree with you because I made a video before the Chelsea game saying we aren't doing enough, and you can criticise the players, but we've got to do more in the stadium as well.
So, it was terrible against Everton, and even 2-0 up against Sunderland. we're hardly going berserk in the stands. Everybody's there just with a little ripple of applause. We're 2-0 up at the Stadium of Light within 15 minutes. It's pretty
got
pathetic.
a chance.
You
We got
travel
a
all
chance.
that way. You know what I mean?
I think we
Come
just
on.
need to realise it. We need to be a little bit more lively. We need to be a little bit more creative with our singing. And I think we
100%.
can galvanise. There are always going to be fans that are there to watch the game differently. And I think you can accept that. But
That's
we
a good
can
point.
do more, definitely. We're going to slightly overrun, just slightly. We wanted to do an hour this evening, but good conversations as always. We are going to slightly overrun. So do stay with us live. If you are with us live, do hit the like button. Do support the channel. We got 30 at least on YouTube. So smash the like button. Let's give us some likes, even if it's just for Alex. This is his debut this evening. So smash the like button. More conversations like this to come, guys. We've had really good conversations. Right. I'm not letting a stream go by the way. I know Aaron would love it, but we're not having a stream. He's smiling already, Matt. He knows what's coming. Alex, basically, we the fans on the chat, they absolutely love a game called Guess the Player. And we basically play a game where we try and pick, or I try and get the fans to guess who we're talking about. And I tell you what, fans in the chat, I don't stand still. It's evolved. It's evolved. We're going places. So I'm making it harder because you get it every week. So what we're going to do is guess the player, and it's evolved a little bit, Aaron. So you're going to enjoy this one. So going to give you both hints now in the next 3 minutes, and then in the chat you got 30 seconds to guess who we're talking about. So here is the new guess the player. This player we're talking about was born in 1980. He has 1 senior Scottish cap. He's played over 230 times for AFC Bournemouth and 5 league goals for the Cherries. Now, little clue for you on this hint, okay, in the chat. The 5 league goals, I think, refer to his permanent signing with the Cherries. So I'm telling you, he had a loan spell with us because I think he scored 6 in total. Matt knows. Hold fire. Hold fire.
I got an idea. But I'm not sure.
Okay. So that's your first hint. Your second hint, okay, don't say anything yet. Your second hint, these are some of the clubs he played for. The Cherries, West Brom, Crawley, and Dundee United. That's the clues you're having. You've got 12 seconds to pick your guess. Who are we talking about? It's time for... Matt, do you think you got it?
Well, I did until you... But that's just some of the clubs he's played for, not all of them, yeah?
Not all of them. Not all of them. Just some of them.
Yeah.
Alex, don't worry. I won't put you on the spot. You think you've got it, but don't worry. I won't put you on the spot. I'll put one of these on the spot.
I'm not sure I do. I think might be one.
I've got an idea, but I think I might be wrong.
Oh, I tell you what. I reckon I got the chat this evening. Can I got them, guys? All right, do you want to have a guess, Aaron? I'm not going to put Alex on the spot in his debut. I'm not going to do that to him. Go on then, Aaron. What do you want me to? Do you want to see one of the hints again?
It's one of 2 I can think of.
Go on then.
I can't remember him being at a couple of those clubs though. That's the thing that's throwing me.
Mm-hmm.
I initially thought Derek Holmes, but I don't think it's Derek Holmes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's that old. He's 45, isn't he? Whoever it is 45 years old, or might be old. I don't know. I don't.
I reckon you'll
the
kick
other one. The other one might be a certain sporting director at another club. Thought might be.
You think? Do you think it's?
Richard Hughes? Yeah, but I think he might
Do
be
you
older
think
than
it
that
is?
as well, isn't he? I don't know. They're the only 2 I can think of, but I don't think it's either of them.
Okay,
so
Matt.
I'm not sure.
So I'm going with Warren Cummings.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right because he played for Dundee United and West Brom. Yeah.
Oh,
Done well, Matt.
He might have pulled it out the bag, guys.
Is he only 45? Oh, he's done it. Yeah, very good.
Done it. Oh, that was a tough one. I'm loving the evolved guess the player. This is going to work.
Was a nice one, Derek. Derek only scored 5 goals for us as well.
The toughest one so far this season.
That's where you thought of him, isn't it?
Keeping you on your toes. Warren Cummings. Yes, it was. Fantastic. Right. We have got Manchester United coming up on Monday night. I may do a watch along. Don't hold me to it. If I can sort it out, I might do a live watch along. So I'm not going because I've got work commitments, unfortunately. John Spark is going to try and put a preview together for you over the next couple of days, which should go out at the weekend. So look out for that. But you do have an opportunity on this stream because you've been amazing this evening, especially for Alex Smith, who's been with us. And why don't you go ahead and put your score predictions in the chat now? You've got 30 seconds for Man United versus AFC Bournemouth on Monday night. Alex, while they're doing that, I know you're probably not going to tell me, but
Yeah, we all know a few things here.
We're going to ask you some questions. But there's someone here going, any update on Senesi injury and contract, by the way?
That's my boy.
The
Just
short
throw that one in
answer
there
is
as well.
the short answer is no, but I will find out tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the presser.
No, I'm
So
hoping it's
follow
not an
Alex,
injury.
his
So,
ex. Follow Alex.
and Donny, I'm sure will be asked about it. I mean, he seemed relatively hopeful that it was just cramp at the end of last game. So
He was a monster last week.
he was brilliant.
We can't do without him at the moment, really.
No, for his
No.
progressive passing as well.
Yeah.
He's a
Did
big
you-
part of the team. So
Have you also done a piece on Andoni Iraola's contract?
You did a brilliant piece on that. Yeah.
Situation.
saw
I know
that.
there's a few pieces going around I've seen in December. I saw a comment. It might not have been your one, but it might have been another one where he said he was quite calm about it. I mean, he might be calm about it. We're not.
I mean, it's one of those where the way he does it, like when he was in Spain, it was just normal that you get to the end of the season, you have 1 year deal, you get to the end of the season, you go, well, do you think you did a good job? And you renew or you don't renew. And he's been used to that like pretty much his whole career, I think, playing as well. And he just sort of
when you spoke to him, Alex, because I read the article and it's a few times, he's always said we know I'm constantly talking to the club, etc. Constantly talking to the club. Do you get a sense, because obviously you can't say too much, do you get a sense that he literally doesn't know what he's going to do, or it's just kind of he's likely to probably go at the end of the season? I mean, or do you think he really just doesn't know? Because you've obviously seen his expressions or his tone rather than just words on the paper.
I genuinely I think he loves it. He loves it in Bournemouth. So I think
More than Bilbao?
well,
That's
see
what I'm worried
Bilbao.
about. That's the one.
Yeah, see, I look at it and go, if Bilbao, if that's an open job in the summer,
Yeah, he
that
takes it.
could be a massive, because I think no matter what he does in his managerial career, at some stage he will end up there, because and I think that's his sort of his aspiration is not to manage Real Madrid or Barcelona. I think he really wants to manage there, because
And that looks like it's becoming vacant, doesn't it? The guy's retiring.
So I think if that's a job that's available, then, and that might also be something that comes into the contract talks, because if it looks like that job might be up in the summer, and only might be saying, well, I'm hesitant to commit to anything, because
the reason I
him,
ask is from the club's point of view, they want succession planning, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously, but look, they're not going to hold him down and put a gun to his head. But at the same time, you know, they might really be thinking now and tapping up and whatever you're allowed to do these days about getting someone in place. And if they leave it to the last minute, that, you know, the club puts the club in a difficult position.
Well, there's a comment in the chat earlier on, Aaron, that says we have to trust Pinto, Frano,
Yeah,
Bill,
I'm sure
and
they've
I
got
can't
an
believe
idea.
with Bill
Yeah.
Foley talking about Europe every 5 minutes,
No,
there
of course,
has to be a backup plan.
I imagine that's been something that they're aware of, and presumably have discussions with Andoni about it and sort of say, look, we have to plan for why you're not here. So whether they go and get what's his name, the Rayo Vallecano manager, who was meant to come to Bournemouth in the first place as his assistant, whether they go and get him afterwards, or try and get him afterwards, a manager in Andoni's mould. I mean, I genuinely think he is so relaxed about it, because whenever it comes up, I think the piece that I put up today about it, to basically say there was no update, because they have conversations the whole time, and they'll have the conversations when they need to have the conversations, seems to be what he says the whole time. And I do think that will be the case. Just for everyone's sanity, let's hope that's in January rather than in April, and there's not a whole hubbub of will he, won't he, and links to other clubs, because I do think, again, something that is testament to, I think, his character is that if he signs it now,
he won't break it.
He won't break it, because he has this history of not breaking contracts. Because I think obviously the season before he came, when he's at Rio Vallecano, I think Leeds and Bournemouth both looked at him mid-season, and he basically told them to go away because he had a contract and he's not going to break it. So I think
he's an honourable man.
Well, yeah, I think he genuinely he has a contract, so he sticks to it, which is a trait that I think is not common in football nowadays. So I think that is part of the reason why it's perhaps taking a bit of time, is because he knows once in his sort of heart of hearts, once he signs it, he's going to commit to it, and that's how long he's here for, unless he gets sacked.
And have you done any piece on Senesi's contract, or is that?
I'm never going to get to these score predictions, am I, Aaron?
Okay. Well, again, the Senesi.
We got a legend on the chat. I'm just trying to get some info here.
The Senesi contract, again, I asked, again, Andoni has a really easy get out clause. When I ask Andoni about contracts, is that he just turns around and says, well, I don't deal with any of that. I leave that to Frano and Thiago, which is a very easy answer for him. And I mean, it's one of those where I don't really get told on those things until they're saying, oh, by the way, Tuesday it's going to be at 8 a.m. or something like that. I'd love to have the agent connections that David Ornstein does, because I'd imagine David Ornstein could probably message the agent of Marcos Senesi and go, how's the contract talks going? But unfortunately, that's not a contact I have.
Yet.
But yeah, I'd imagine I'd be hugely surprised if Senesi contract talks were not planned and or underway at the moment. Again, that would be another one, because if he's
his girlfriend settles, so that helps.
Yeah. Well, there's that as well. Because if he's out of contract in the summer, sort of, you can start signing pre-contract agreements with foreign clubs in January. So that's sort of a point where you have to start thinking about getting renewals done early and making sure that it doesn't even get to that point.
Because I could see a Marcos Senesi defending in Serie A. I'm not going to lie. So his game would definitely fit that league. Right, I'm going to dive into the score predictions, and then I'll come around the room. We'll finish up with Aaron, Matt, and Alex's score predictions for Monday night. Right, let's go in. I've starred them. Rob is going for a 2-2 at Old Trafford. Ethan's backing that up with a 2-0. Hello, there it is. Steve Connor's going for a 3-0 to the Cherries. Stephen Dyer's going for a 2-2. That's a favourable scoreline at the moment. Chris Hubble's going for 3-2. Going to see goals and some Bournemouth goals as well. Cherries 2-1. Now, Alex, if you want to look at some score predictions and you want to pinch someone's, the person you're going to want to pinch, she's a legend in score predictions most weeks. She's there again. Three times in a row. So feel free to pinch Carol's 3-0, because she does get a lot of score predictions right. 3-1 to the Cherries is a famous scoreline. 4-3. Wow, that's from Aaron's son. And Mark's going for 2-1 to Cherries. Semenyo brace. Be good to see a Semenyo goal. Right, let's wrap this up. Aaron, score prediction Monday night.
I'm strangely confident for some weird reason. I know they've got, don't worry. I know they've got Mbuemo and Ahmad who are likely to play before they go to AFCON, which is really really annoying, because those are two very dangerous players. But I watched them against Everton, against 10 men. They were awful. I watched them when they against home to West Ham, didn't pull up any trees. Even at home, even away at Wolves, I know they won comfortably in the end, but there was a period of time when a dreadful Wolves team, they were drawing with them and not looking great. So they've got some great players. I'm still not convinced on the unit of Manchester United, and I still think if we can turn up, Semenyo actually fires against a top club. I can see us winning 2-1. So I'm gonna be confident, and I think we'll win this game. Hopefully beat Burnley, and then we'll be shooting right up the table.
Matt, Your mate Morgan is going for a Cherries 3-0 as well. And I'm still convinced they don't like to play the formation that Ruben's trying to get stuck into them. So I do think there is chance to get at this team. Your score prediction?
Yeah, well, I was strangely confident in the last away game at Sunderland, having travelled all that way, and I was going around to everybody in the pub pre-match saying I've got a good feeling about today. And at 2-0 up, even better. And look what happened there. 2-2 seems to be the popular score. I think there'll be goals. 2-2. I mean, my head says 2-2, to be honest. However, you're just backing up what Aaron said. I think we can go there and win. They're not that great. We've seen it recently, particularly at home. They seize up a bit at home. They're under pressure. 75,000 fans on their back, expectant, and they don't look great, particularly at the back. They have got some quality, so I think we can win it. So my heart is saying 3-1 Bournemouth.
I'm going to follow the chat. I'm sorry, Carol. I know I normally follow you most weeks, but I'm going to go for TT. I just want to see us score a goal again. I've missed celebrating, to be honest with you, whether I'm at home or whether I'm inside Dean Court. Alex, been great to have you on the show this evening. Hope you've enjoyed your debut. Hopefully we can get you back on future streams later in the season, maybe in January with some transfer talk. That might be interesting. Your score prediction. Have a good travel up to Old Trafford. Yeah, your thoughts and score prediction, please.
Let's 3-peat 3-0. I think probably go with 2-1, to be honest. Win. Go for the 3 points, 2-1. United just blow hot and cold, and sometimes more cold than hot. Let's hope that's the case on Monday. I just think that I was sort of writing my preview and this today or yesterday and sort of looking at it and going, they're sixth. How on earth are they sixth? It doesn't seem that they've. I don't know. I never really know what's going on at that football club, and let's hope that Monday night is another night where they blow very cold and it's a nice easy win. But I hope that's the case. And like you say, get 3 points there, 3 points against Burnley, and then suddenly it's
Europe's on.
8th at Christmas.
Exactly.
And we're 2 points
Champions
behind.
League song anymore. We've got a band Champions League singing every time. Final score prediction. I think Bev is going for 2-1 to the Cherries. Is that a 2-1 to Man United from Mark? If it is, Mark, I'm on Bev's side. You can stay on your side. I'm on Bev's side. Fantastic. Been a really good stream, actually, because I was worried about some of the tough topics and conversations we're going to have, but we always come out the other side and we always think positively like we have done, and there's always a chance to turn it around. Final thing for me to mention is to the wonderful monthly members who support Cherries Red Army, StreamYard, and all our costs to do what we're doing right now. Thank you to all of you, or anyone who's donated. You can simply donate or become a member at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. If you've watched this back after we've streamed it live, thank you very much. Put your thoughts in the comments and your score prediction for Manchester United game versus Bournemouth on Monday night. Feel free to do that. Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on.
No worries. Look after yourself. Matt, good to see you again. We'll see you plenty more throughout the season.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt, for having me on. Nice to meet you, Alex. Thanks for coming on. Been really insightful. Really enjoyed it as ever. Thanks to everybody watching, everybody in the chat taking part. Really appreciate that. Appreciate your likes. Appreciate your subscriptions and your views. It's been brilliant as always. And let's get back to winning ways.
And before Aaron asks Alex any more questions, thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for having me on, Kirk. Thanks again to everyone in the chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. Great to have you on, Alex. And we'll speak offline.
And the last thank you goes to you, the fans. If you've joined us live, amazing. If you've watched us back on replay, fantastic. And keep following us, subscribe. We've got to wait till Monday, but we can see the other fixtures and we'll see what we can do at Old Trafford and maybe climb the table, hopefully score a goal and maybe get a win. Look after yourself. We'll see you on the next one. You Reds, up the Cherries. See you soon.
Up the Cherries.